New questions about key evidence at crime scenes investigators have relied on for decades. Researchers at the University of Indianapolis now say DNA might not be as reliable. RTV6's Jack Reinhart has more on secondary transfer of DNA and what investigators are doing to avoid it.
Police and prosecutors have used DNA evidence for the better part of 3 decades, but a University of Indianapolis research study shows that just because someone's DNA is found at the scene of a crime doesn't necessarily make them a suspect. At the scene of a crime, the challenge becomes one of not only what to collect as evidence, but also how to collect it. And the emergent concern documented by University of Indianapolis researchers raises questions when more than one DNA profile is found on a piece of evidence.
How was that DNA deposited on the item? Was it through direct contact, or was it transferred there through another person or through an intermediary? When was that DNA placed on that object? Is the DNA that's detected even relevant to the crime?
There is fear that a secondary transfer of DNA could link an innocent person to a crime, or that it could weaken the evidence that could have been used to identify the real culprit. At the Marion County Crime Lab, it's something that crime scene investigators work hard to avoid.
That's why we take, really pretty extreme measures: gloves, masks, sleeves. You've seen our people work at scenes in particular. And in our lab, plus we also have all the profiles of every individual in this lab, including my own. So if there's a cross-transference of our DNA, we can identify that.
University of Indianapolis researchers say that technology used in the past to come up with a DNA profile relied on large evidentiary samples. Today's technology can draw a genetic profile with just a few cells.
We don't want people to be concerned about previous forensic investigations. We're just raising awareness that with these increasing sensitivities, that this may be something to consider in the future.
In Indianapolis, Jack Reinhart, RTV6.
The University of Indianapolis study cited a California case of a man who was incarcerated for months after his DNA was discovered on a homicide victim. He was released after it was determined that his DNA was transferred to the dead man by paramedics who had come into contact with each of them on separate emergency runs.